Hey guys and gals, Nary here for Drakewing Game, and it's something on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Minotaur Hotel. So y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alright. So, among you are our first guests after reopening, and I know some of you are leaving tomorrow morning. Maybe I should do a deeper voice for Asterion. So, among you are our first guests after reopening, and I know some of you are leaving tomorrow morning. So we thought it would be nice to do something special. This is for you, our guests. But I am dedicating it to a friend. I hope you will enjoy tonight, and that when you leave, that you take with you fond memories. And if you ever need a home or just a place to rest, our doors are open. The Minotaur positions his lyre and breathes. Ooh. Nice. He places his fingertips along a few strings on one side of the lyre and strums with his other hand. He begins to hum. It gets louder through plaintive notes in the chant-like rhythm. He says a few snatches of words as he begins to pluck out the melody he hummed. Only the last line did he sing out, a look of consternation and worry fading into simple calm as the last notes fade to silence. I hope you don't mind I didn't sing that one. I found just as I got on stage I could not remember the words. So I hoped the strings alone would do. I wasn't quite sure that the muses were with me this evening, but the nine of Helicon are here, it seems. They deserve acknowledgement before I continue. My older brother taught me to play. One of the first things you do in a performance is invoke the muses, he said. Tonight, they did not see fit to remove song completely from me, and made me remember my brother. May my song's reverence with them be always as their mercy is to me. So I thank you, muses, who were not too cross with me. Please aid my song. He plucks another melody out, a single line of notes stretching through the room, strings left to ring out. Once you notice how much the melody has the contour and cadence of speech, you hear his fingers stop a few strings. He strums again and begins to sing, putting words to what he's just played. It is not quite a bellow, but his bovine throat is open as his voice rumbles out an epic hymn, a lyric, a drinking song. While the song lasts, he is shameless. His presence flows and captivates. His heaviness was never less burdensome. Between each of these, however, Asterion's bashfulness returns as he explains what the song is about. But while he sings and while he plays, he is not self-conscious. His eyes aren't closed out of shyness, but out of a feeling like himself. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and thank you, once again. That is one happy Minotaur. I've been having the strangest dreams lately, Dad. Oh, hello there. A peacock. I see into this dark room, and it looks like some kind of ancient Greek temple or something. At the middle of it there is a big hunk of purple rock. Oh, sweet nectar. Okay. I've been having those ever since Grandpa died, and we had that whole thing about his will, but lately, it's different. There were people there, a number of them, actually. And you know, one of them was a Minotaur. Just like Grandpa said. I've been thinking about it, yes. I mean, it's not like I have anything better to do right now. I got a job offer, kinda, but they don't know for sure yet. And I have some savings. Well, I've been thinking about paying Grandpa a visit. A little car trip. Who knows? Maybe his stories about that hotel are true after all. I want to find that out for myself. Yeah, that's a very mean thing to say about your own father. You taught me better than that. Listen, none of that is going to stop me. You might as well save yourself the effort. It's best if I hang up now. Goodbye. Fucking piece of shit. I'll show you. Chapter 13. Little Stars. A night rages and cheers only for a short while. Time always takes his due. Still, they had no grief at all. They danced and drank, laughed and sang until their voices grew hoarse and eyes dimmed. And further they celebrated, as if somehow a victory could be made eternal if it burned bright enough. Sitting at the sidelines of the lounge, surrounded by mankind but locked inside his mind, the Minotaur lost himself in thought. Such a human thing. Did the guests and the master perhaps know it, the archaic ritual taught by his old friend? Celebrate and live for a whole night. Do not cease until your back burns out all its weight, and under no circumstances allow the bonfire to go out. And take a handful of embers, grayed and crumbling on the outside, but still arboring a red heart. Pour a stream of your finest wine, saved from the festivities to kill the night's fire. Old Frenius swore he overheard it during a priestess's initiation when she was instructed on the mysteries of Crete's old goddess. That ritual, he said, could make a moment everlasting. It would leave demons behind, a memory of the night etched on the land and lodged in the mind of its witnesses. He said the embers' last threads of smoke would be gathered by prayers, Zeus's daughters, and be brought to the Graces, or the Fates, or the Hours for their weaving. The more he explained, the looser his conception of the ceremony became. What silly nonsense, Asterion thought then, back in Crete. He's just saying it to cheer me up again. The Minotaur did steal a cup of his father's wine, and together they drowned the embers, handpicked from the basin in the courtyard where the bonfire had raged. He never believed such a ritual could work. He knew a handful of mysteries himself, and none were as simple, as innocent as that. Even in the kindest moments of the old gods charged in blood. But still he did it, because regardless of the gods, it made nights unforgettable in his mind. Sometimes raw belief, lacking in any form of binding magic, is enough to make something true. That was long ago. He had witnessed so many festivities in all these centuries as the hotel's keeper. Each one pushed him further towards believing that Frenius's ritual was merely a manifestation of humanity's drive to find immortality. It is only human to seek eternity, the exquisite lie that the flow of time can be stopped. Trapping oneself in a bubble no tragedy can burst. Frenius wished for that mercy in Crete thousands of years ago, and humanity yearns for it still. Believing in such old rituals from a time whose very gods have gone missing. Silly nonsense, bland indulgence. Still, that night after the concert, the Minotaur went to bed with his hands covered in ashes. What an exquisite time they had. Fatigue of it all was catching up to him. A tension in his chest made the room spin around him. His fingertips were freezing. He did not notice when it happened, but pulling a single lungful of air became a laborious task. Asterion knew this too well. Time, after all, demands his due, and for every joy a greater sorrow is sure to follow. He drew a breath. A prisoner such as him was not allowed happiness. His mind told him this even as he remembered the pleasantness of the evening. He drew a breath. He forgot that he was meaning to sleep, forgot to close his eyes. The Minotaur stared at the ceiling. His thoughts became half-thoughts, and the tightness in his chest became a heaviness in his shoulders and a tension in his hands. He drew a breath. A price must be paid. There's always a catch. The sheets around him bunched up into valleys and peaks. Disquiet fought against the weariness. He drew a breath. Restless sleep overtook him while he felt too heavy to move. A sullen tiredness in mind, deeper than sleep, pulled him into the valley of his sheets. Whispers about his nature, words he had not allowed himself to mutter for nearly a century now. But another memory fluttered, that of Alexios's embrace, the Minotaur's nose on his head, that pacifying warmth they shared. Even this, though, is covered with the worries of, was it his place to? Was he allowed to? Too soon or sudden? Overstepping boundaries? He always unwanted. Now. Delicious. Morning cracked his skull open, but no dream slipped out in a sprint. The bedroom seemed just the same as it had always been. So cramped it threatened to crush him, walls so white they burned his eyes, and shelves decorated with Jean-Marie's bug-eyed carvings. He remembered to breathe, then bit his tongue. The pain came without hurry, dull and throbbing. But the Minotaur's eyes felt different, as if overnight they skipped autumn and dove into winter. If the mind were a muscle, his would be hobbling about, aching with overwork. Asterion told himself to look to the door, but didn't. Stared up, told himself to look toward the doorframe. Remember to breathe, prayed the hybrid. He drew a breath. Told himself to get up, but didn't. He clenched his hands, felt nails sinking into his palm. In the corner of the room stood Todd Howard, with a copy of Oblivion for the Xbox 360. No. No. There were obsidian hunks tied to his limbs, waist, eyes. Even each fold of his brain was weighed down with hooks. If the gods had sent him a shred of mercy, such weight could have crushed him entirely and ended his existence. But they made him strong and resilient to bear the load. This vessel was not made to break, he knew, even if the creatures of this realm were so eager to try. The only movement made as he finally drew his eyes to the side was an aimless clenching and unclenching of hands. There had been many times over his everlasting existence when Asterion's spirit had felt emptied of vigor or substance like this. At least a handful of times per year for the last 2 millennia, without fail, although time became mushier inside the cold room. But it had not always been the case. He couldn't afford such bland indulgence when monsters chased him. Perhaps it was a jest from the gods themselves. He remembered to breathe. When a human came who sought to end his trials, yet another punishment came, this time from his own mind. But enough dawdling, little star. You must rise again regardless. There is a delay between commanding his body to move and having it muster the will to obey. He pushes himself up with the clumsiness of a marionette, willing against an inertia in his brain. There is an amount of breathing room between each limb's movement to get himself up, as if all the force gained from a night of sleep is required. He gazes at the mirror. Welcome back to your old self, little star. Are you ready to see the internet? Witness the latest creation of human ingenuity. They never stopped, these sharp-eyed humans. What intricate creations their fine fingers craft. Asterion looked at his own hand, at the knobby knuckles and thick nails, each knot tied with rough, ragged rope. Yes, of course. Great, this is a tablet. It's a kind of computer that uses touch controls. By which I mean you just tap on the screen. It's very intuitive. I can't see anything. Am I doing it wrong? No, it's fine. I haven't unlocked it yet. Here, I just pressed this button and... I took the liberty of setting it up for you. Knowing you had a hard time with fine movements, I made sure things would be big and easy to tap. Do you think these are large enough? I can expand the icons more still. Thank you, sir. This is adequate. Although, I hope I didn't impose on you a chore. Was setting it up difficult? Not at all. Tablets all come with accessibility settings. Tailoring it to your needs is a trivial matter. Accessibility. Only humans could fathom such a thing. The gods had no love or care for Hephaestus and his imperfections. Oh, that is very kind of them. Thinking about the disgracefully uncoordinated like me. The man looks down to the hybrid. Asterion gazes at his eyes. He never understood why people had such a fascination for the color of each other's irises. To him, the white surrounding them was much more enthralling. Nature had been kind to him in that regard, at least. Rather than the beady blackness of a cow's eyes, he had been blessed with a fine pair of very human ones, whites and all. Perhaps it was something in the way Alexios' eyes hesitated as he searched for words, or maybe it was the Minotaur's brain slipping up for a second. But before Alexios could speak, the Minotaur felt a few centuries' worth of age lifting from his back. I wouldn't put it like that. Lots of people have injuries or special needs, but regardless of that, everyone gets old someday. We'll all need the help. He chewed on it. The tone was kind. The master spoke almost like singing, but as the words were sewed together, they became thorny. Asterion bit his tongue. Was he old, or perhaps old in the same sense that a human could be? His body was the best it had been in 80 years, but all the time spent in the cold room never left him as tired as this. It was the kind of exhaustion that made even opening one's eyes an insurmountable task. Old or disabled, the Minotaur needed this accessibility invention. Do I have special needs, or am I just old? Asterion mumbled it. His tongue felt bloated today. He had to grind his teeth to stop it from peeking out of his mouth. The master could not distinguish what he said. Sorry, what did you say? Moo. The master's eyes scrutinize him. They appreciate every feature of his face, as if trying to glimpse into the Minotaur's mind. His heart skips a beat. We realize how disposable a toy Asterion is. The hybrid cannot say what would come next. It must be better than this feeling of being suspended and awaiting for trial. Are you feeling well, Asterion? You seem a bit distressed today. Asterion looks away and draws a breath. His chest tightens and he opens his mouth, leaves it hanging. In fact, as what he meant to say escapes him. He blinks, lets his eyelids fall as he exhales. It's so hard thinking with all those hooks on his brain. He has to string every word together, then break it all down into mouth movements, exhales and inhales, glances and hand gestures. And the delay is there, making it all worse. A gap as the sea is deep and is just as dark. But when he closes his eyes and allows himself to dream, images flow like water from a spring. The Master felt warm last night. Hugging him was not the trial the Minotaur expected. His mind went silent as they stayed locked together in the dark. Asterion nuzzled his nose on the top of Alexios' head. He did not recoil. While it lasted, Asterion did not think of how awkward his hands could be, closing all its fingers together. It stopped being an uncoordinated claw. It became just a hand. When he readjusted his legs, he didn't even hear the clop of his hooves. All the noises eating away at the edges quieted down, muffled by velvet. The Master was generous. He went through great lengths to get the wine, and what did he gain from it? Asterion bites his tongue. Perhaps some more trust is warranted. Alright, y'all, I'm going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Kate Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to our gold tier patron, Tresem Guy. You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to our ultimate tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our not safe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!